Next up in the wonderful 4K restorations from Hammer is the Curse of Frankenstein, one that I have been eager to see since I saw that beautifully coloured trailer they dropped not long ago. Let's jump in first and have a look at all the contents that come inside this package. So here is the Hammer Curse of Frankenstein box with a little card at the bottom with a quote, as they usually have. This is a stunning green, shiny design on the packaging, which I really like. And if we open this up, we will see the usual goodies that are inside. Again, some amazing artwork on the outside of this box before we even get into the amazing stuff. Here is the outer casing for all 6 of the discs with this great artwork that they've created. I mean, I would happily have this on my wall. And the 2 4K UHDs and the 4 Blu-rays that come with this version. We also have several art cards that are included in this set, which I really quite like as well, as they're all represented here. Here we have the comic version of the book. Now, I spoke about this in some of the other bigger editions. I love these. As a comic fan, they're a great little addition and something I never knew actually existed. And here is the Books of Frankenstein Volume 1, which is exciting as it alludes that there is going to be further volumes of this. This booklet, which I have praised before, the booklets within the Hammer sets are filled with articles, with archival interviews. They've got some new material in here as well. There's a particular one on the script's development, which I think is absolutely fantastic and well worth your reading. And here is the poster that's included within the set. It is double-sided, and here is the other side of it. The Curse of Frankenstein sticks very closely to the source material. You know, when brilliant and arrogant scientist Baron Victor Frankenstein becomes obsessed with conquering death, he embarks on forbidden experiments to create life from death. With the reluctant help of his tutor, Frankenstein builds a creature from a stolen body and various other parts, and as his ambition spirals into madness, his pursuit of godlike power brings only horror and ruin.
Is this your creature of superior intellect? Your perfect physical being, this animal?
I've got to say, from the releases that we've had so far from Hammer, this is probably visually the most stunning I've seen so far. The 4K is incredible and the colours just pop, particularly whenever he is in his laboratory. You have all these bubbling liquids. We've got these things that are floating in glass cases in the background. It just looks stunning. This was Hammer's breakthrough film, which ushered in a new era of colour horror after years of black and white Universal classics. It was released in 1957, directed by Terence Fisher. It would have some of the staples that would go on to really cement Hammer's place. We've got Peter Cushing, and we've got Christopher Lee, who has a mostly silent but impressive role here as Frankenstein's creature. It has this shocking violence, which is a kind of major departure from more of the other Frankenstein stories that came before it. This is a creature that unleashes bloody terror as much as it can in the time and era. Cushing himself gives a wonderful performance. He's brilliantly cold, he's calculating, he is sure of himself. He's confident that what he's doing is so important that nothing and no one should stand in his way. It's a role that's pushed by ego rather than empathy for other people. And it comes across terrifically well. You can see this character at the start who's just eager for knowledge, wanting to learn, wanting to grow as a person, and then finding his path and sticking to it regardless of the ramifications to anyone in his life. Christopher Lee is fantastic as the creature. You know, he doesn't have a lot to say, but he gives a sort of tragic and terrifying performance here. he's kind of visually haunting. He looks as though he is decaying with the makeup that he has on. He is fueled by rage, and you kind of have this idea that it's rage because he's not been allowed to rest after his death. He's been forced to come back to be the puppet of this crazed scientist, and you just see this anger throughout him and a kind of remorse for what he is now. There is this wonderful colour cinematography that just radiates, like I said. It contrasts the sort of beauty of the sets, particularly, like I said, the laboratory, even things like the city streets or the city at night, various moments. The colour just makes this thing just pop. It's so vibrant, and like I said, on the 4K, it looks amazing. There are many great moments within Curse of Frankenstein that I could talk about, whether it's be the reveal of Christopher Lee's creature, which is brilliant. It's raw, it's visceral, very different than the creatures we'd seen before. The wonderful finale that we get is both tragic and poetic, setting the tone for Hammer's morally ambiguous heroes. But one of my favourite sequences was just dinner table sequences where we had the characters talking, and it's through these moments where you got to see the duplicitousness and the sheer arrogance and manipulation that Frankenstein had. The way he worked conversation, the way he cajoled people, the way he sneered or looked down his nose, it really gave this character lots of interesting characteristics, and to see how his mind really worked. I found some of these sequences, which would have been banal in other movies, really had a life to them thanks to Cushing's performance here.
How cleverly they twist our words to suit their own ends. She'll only be happy if I give up my work entirely.
It's quite clear to see that the Curse of Frankenstein had an effect. It set the tone for Hammer. It set the tone visually for a lot of other filmmakers that would come later on, like Del Toro or maybe even Tim Burton. You can see this as a kind of classic when you think of it, and it's just done to perfection in this 4K. Like I said, the colour really pops when it's got the nighttime sequences near the end. Everything just looks clear. The clarity is brilliant. But for me, it was the laboratory sequences where everything just popped for me. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Let's dive into the disc and have a look at the extras. Here we are in disc 1 of The Curse of Frankenstein. We have the widescreen 1:6:1 UK theatrical version. That comes with a commentary with Kim Newman, Barry Forshaw and Stephen Jones. We have the full screen 1:37:1 as filmed version with a 2012 commentary with Marcus Hearn and Jonathan Rigby. Beside the Seaside is a 50-minute, 17-second conversation between Wayne Kinsey and Madeline Smith, all about Peter Cushing. It's a wonderful conversation, just tracking his trajectory, almost like an autobiography. Reviving the Curse of Frankenstein is a fascinating extra. It's 8 minutes 11 seconds, and it's just talking about restoring the film materials and what they had to work with in the collaboration with Warner Brothers. We have an alternative eyeball scene, which is 1 minute 11 seconds. And then we have the UK theatrical trailer and the UK censor card. Now on to disc 3, we have Jimmy Sangster's 1997 interview, which runs for 24 minutes 10 seconds. He's at Manchester's Festival of Fantastic Films and is talking all about his career. Next, we have Frankenstein Reborn, which is 34 minutes 45 seconds and is basically a making of. It's an archival featurette. Then we have Life with Sir, which is 12 minutes 31 seconds. It's an archival featurette where you have Joyce Broughton, his secretary and friend, talking about her day-to-day life with Peter Cushing, and it's a great talking head. Next, we have The Resurrection Men, which is 21 minutes 51 seconds, and it's talking to Dick Clemenson, explaining the revolutionary nature of Frankenstein and how it kind of gave birth to a new level of horror. He kind of leans into how horror was in a bit of a spiral at this point, and a lot of the films coming out weren't really horrifying, but then Hammer with The Curse of Frankenstein really changed that trend. Next, we have Hideous Progeny, which is 22 minutes 49 seconds, and we have Christopher Frayling discussing Gothic literature and how it kind of morphed into Gothic cinema. Torrents of Light is 15 minutes 14 seconds. It's all about Jack Astor's lighting. And we have Diabolus in Musica, which is 17 minutes 5 seconds, which is all about James Bernard and his influence on Hammer music. And we have Hammer Horror for Hugh Harlow, which is a brief interview with the third assistant director, how this was his introduction to Hammer, to Christopher Lee, to Peter Cushing, to working in this kind of processing on these types of films. And then finally on this disc we have the 8mm cut down version, in which they trimmed the film to 10 minutes 35 seconds. I love these editions of the films because they're so wildly cut, and you really see what they've done here, and it makes a pretty good short. First up in disc 4 is Flesh and Blood, which is a 2-hour 27-minute documentary all about Hammer. It is extensive, it is fantastic, and it's worth the price of admission alone. Next we have Mr. Cushing and Mr. Lee, which is 47 minutes 47 seconds, and it's as they are recording the narration for Flesh and Blood. It was behind the scenes, so it's just them hanging out, interacting and talking, and it's so heartwarming and wonderful. I'm really glad it was included. Then we have Flesh and Blood narration outtakes, which is 20 minutes 44 seconds, just of Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee just messing up. Next we have Tales of Frankenstein pilot. Now this was something I had never heard of before, and I found to be fascinating. It is a 27-minute 26-second pilot of a Frankenstein series. It's wonderful. I wish I had went to series. This also comes with a commentary, and then the Tale of Tales of Frankenstein is 27 minutes 52 seconds, and it's all about the circumstances surrounding how this got produced, why it went into a series, why it didn't land. It's fantastic, and that's the on-disc extras for The Curse of Frankenstein. So there we have it. The Curse of Frankenstein remains a cornerstone of modern horror, a bold reinvention that turned Gothic horror into something sensual, shocking and deeply tragic. The 4K breathes new life into this masterpiece, reframing it as one of Hammer's finest achievements and one of the most influential horror films ever made. Do I need to sell this thing anymore? It's wonderful. You need it in your collection. Pick it up. It's an absolute standout, and I would love to know your thoughts on The Curse of Frankenstein. Let me know in the comment box below whether you love it or hate it or fall somewhere in the middle. As always, there is more content up there. You can see more of my stuff. In the description box are links to Patreon, membership program and manbefilm.com. Always in which you can support me. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.